Alright, so we've got all the components out just to clean underneath and all the eyelets and get rid of all that crusty old flux just to avoid any chances of leakage. This also gives us the opportunity to heat up and dehydrate every eyelet just to make sure there's no leakage between critical points. One spot I'm a bit concerned with is this section here, because that is the bias feed there, and then there's one of the preamp nodes attached here. So there's a big voltage differential in this spot here. We'll see how we go. There's no sign of bias drift due to this when I was doing initial testing, but there was some crackling and stuff, so just want to make sure that's not caused by any leakage through the board there. So we've got rid of all the tacked on parts with the two short leads, and I'm just going to go through and just get a bit of uniformity in the components. We've got all sorts of hodgepodge mix of different manufacturers. I'm just going to go with some Panasonics down here and up the voltage rating in a few critical spots. Like I said, some of these parts are still okay. It's mainly just the lead length that's an issue. Some of them, like the Rubicon caps, we'll just replace so we know we've got a known point where it's been recapped, because they look like pretty old Rubicons. And for a couple of extra bucks, we'll put some Vichy bypass caps in there. It's only 2 of them. So I'll get my head down, my ass up, and I'll get busy doing that. Alright, so one thing I spotted, it looks like a wire's broken off through the board here. I just noticed a little bit of yellow fluff. Looking closely, that's actually the end of a wire, snapped off or cut off flush with the board. And having a look at the layout and just probing around, that's actually our bias feed. So that normally goes up to the pot up there. So that's the tremolo depth pot. I'll also put a like 5 meg resistor or something, just so if that pot wiper does fail, it'll still feed it with bias. But what I might do is just pry that board up a bit and just replace that wire under the board like it was from the factory. Get rid of this one over here, because that's running right next to all the signal lines and stuff. And that's got the tremolo, the modulated bias on it, so I just want to make sure no bias pumping or anything's going to find its way into the audio. Plus it'll look like original then. Alright, so bias wise, we've landed at about 45%, which is bang on what I was after for this, for optimum tremolo depth, because it is a bias modulating tremolo, but without venturing too far into crossover distortion territory. So with this transformer, which remember it's not a stock transformer, is equated to 33k and the stock 56k. I don't like changing the resistive divider to ground, that half, because that can load down the supply a bit too much. I prefer to throw that other value up a little bit just to avoid excessive current on that winding. It is just a tap. It's probably fine. I'm just a bit paranoid when it comes to bias supplies. Down here we've got a little 4.7 meg resistor across the depth pot, so if that wiper ever fails, because we are relying on that pot for the bias to be supplied to the output valves, if that pot fails, if that wiper loses continuity, you've just lost bias to the output stage, and bad things will happen. So that little 4.7 meg resistor is high enough value that it won't affect the depth control, but if that wiper ever goes open circuit, it will back up and deliver the bias to the output stage. So you kind of want to do that on Fender amps or tremolo amps that don't already have one installed, just as a safety measure. You could probably even go as high as 10 meg. I tested this with the wiper disconnected, and the bias only went up by a milliamp or two. So happy days, champions. We'll carry on. Got 2 new screen grids in there, 2 watters. That's double the power rating of the original ones, because the original ones like to overheat a bit. Back in the day, I don't think these things were used like they are these days, like full-on rock and roll mode, crank it right up. So 2 watts just allows a little bit more heat dissipation, larger body to the resistor, but it will still fuse open if there's any major issues, any shorts in the valve. They're safety resistors, flame-proof. All the power supply stuff is flame-proof. No carbon comps to catch fire and flare up inside the chassis. You can see the 10k dropper there on the preamp. Very simple amp. It's got your B+, goes to the choke and back. That's your screen node, and that's your preamp node, and that's it, champions. That's all she wrote. So I've gone with Panasonic penny boys all the way through, just for continuity, for consistency. None of the caps in there were original anyway. It was just a hodgepodge of random shit that looked like the previous tech didn't really care that much. So for a couple of bucks, we got all new pannies in there. We've left the carbon films in there where they've been replaced previously. Nothing wrong with them. And the rest of the carbon comps all measured, believe it or not, within spec. So these ones here probably went massively out, so they were replaced, or noisy like the 5V3 we had recently. So they were replaced by previous tech. They're fine, nothing wrong with them. I think they're probably 1 watters, given the size of the body, whereas all of these ones are half watt, the carbon comps. Got 2 new V-shays there for bypassing of V1 and for the tremolo oscillator, and 2 new V-shays down there for the bias supply. So the schematic specified 150 volt caps there, but I only had 100 volt, and the maximum on that node there is only minus 67 volts anyway, and that one's 42. So plenty of margin there, no need for 150s or 160s. So still a bit of flux where I've been playing with values and reworking stuff. There's the tremolo depth mod just to give it a bit more swampy depth, and I'll probably scrape off this flux and just go in there with a cotton bud just to make the board look like factory, champions. I want it to look like a brand new bought one, a brand new brand spanker. The board anyway. I can't do much with the chassis or the rest of the wiring. I've changed the lead dress on some areas here just to bring the noise down a little bit, or the crosstalk I should say. There's currently no popping or anything coming from the tremolo, so that's awesome. That can be a bit insidious in these tweed style chassis where everything's so jammed together. And hiding away down there under all my test leads, we've got 2 backup diodes on the rectifier, as I usually do. Alright, the important end, champions, the bit that'll stop me from dying. So I've soldered 2 separate connections here, because that wire coming from that power transformer was extremely stiff. I think it's top coat wire, because I don't think it's solid, well, from memory, not solid core, but they've pre-tinned it, and that jacket has just gone really stiff, and I didn't want to bend it too much because I was worried I might crack it. So I just let the leads sort of go where they wanted to go and gave them their own solder connection, and I gave the mains safety earth its own connection over there, so I wasn't trying to fight it, all 3 leads at once. We've done the usual safe thing with the mains. We come in with the active to the fuse tip. I've gone with Australian colours here. Active to the fuse tip, fuse ring to the switch to the transformer, and the neutral always connected to the other end of the transformer primary. Now again, champions, just got some new belt and shields. That's the word I'm trying to think of. Man, my IQ friggin', I can't even think of the word there. Bisects? No. Quadruples? No. Quarters? Oh, fuck. Gets divided by like 4 as soon as I hit go on the camera. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, the belt and shields actually fit really tightly on those existing friction fit things. They're not actually bayonets on this version. The original sockets just had like this lip, and I think it was just friction fit. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anyone selling those that actually fit that exact valve base anywhere. I've seen so many people asking for it. But if you grab just a belt-in, you just jam it on there. Make sure you get both of the sides engaged at once. They're really, what does AVE say? Stiff as a wedding prick. Can cap. Let's have a look inside there. Cap can. Cap can. My God. Cap can. Let's have a look inside the doghouse. First, I got rid of the cable entry gland, which was the plastic Hyco type, and it had a lot of load on those wires, squishing them against each other. I don't trust that with the cloth connections, so I just put a rubber grommet on there, and I tidied them up so they weren't so bunched up in this area. And on the inside here, I cleaned up the wiring, replaced them with some tube amp doctors, put some neoprene foam underneath, put some neoprene foam on the chassis. So when we reinstalled them, they're sort of sandwiched in midair between the two to stop vibration and to stop them pulling on the tag strips too much. And we just cleaned up all the wiring. There's nothing wrong with the tag strips down there. I'm not a huge fan of tack soldering stuff to the metal like that, but you couldn't remove that if you wanted to. That a pair of pliers, you'd struggle to get that off the chassis. So that's fine, that's good. It's a well heated and well fused solder joint. So we just left that as is, cleaned up the tags, and put in some 22 microfarad all around, 500 volt rated tube amp doctors, 105 degree rated. And I'll put a little sticker in there with the recap date, just so the next tech knows exactly where it's at. There we go. I've never really bothered doing that before, but I guess I probably should, because chances are the next tech that sees it will be me in 20 years' time. God, that's depressing to think about, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. Alright, champions, so I gave it a quick test at the factory values for the bias supply. Sorry, I was speaking weird. I just had a guitar pick in my mouth. And that biased up to 21%. Now, being that it's not a stock power transformer, that bias tap could have a different voltage on it than the original ones did, so hence us having to change the resistor in the bias divider so dramatically. Now, the resistors in the bias supply as it came in were modified as well. I just thought I'd try it with the stock ones first to see how far off it is. That led us to be at about 21% per side. I changed the 22K to a 47K. Pretty dramatic change, more than doubled. And now we're at about 73% centered. So the thing with bias-driven trams is you want to bias it a bit cool so the output valves have somewhere to go. Otherwise, half your depth control won't work. You can see there we've got pretty healthy tram. But then it cuts out about 7 or 8 on the control, and then you've just got no depth from 1 till there. So it makes the controller makes the control pod a little bit unintuitive to use. So if we bias it around the 50% mark, you'll find that the depth control will be useful for more of its travel. So let's try that. Alrighty, so she's stable. Ironed out a few little kinks and made a few refinements, primarily to the Tremolux circuit and its performance in combination with the bias. Slowed the trem down a little bit, gave it a bit more juicy depth. That was my nickname in high school. Had some issues with the tremolo valve socket, so I was wondering why the trem wasn't kicking in after a few mods. And I was scratching my head thinking I'd done something wrong, and then I bumped the valve and the tremolo came back. So yeah, classic rookie error. So I've taken all my measurements. I'll just remove these leads and we'll get it back into the cabinet and do a quick sound demo, champions. Thanks for sticking around this long. Some of the videos, I can see the analytics don't really do that well on the longer videos, but some of you guys really like the longer videos, and to be honest, I don't like leaving details out, because then in the comments everyone goes, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention that, you didn't mention that. Well, if I mentioned everything, every video would be 2 hours long, so. But yeah, I'll try to mix it up, give you some long videos, some short videos. It can't keep everyone happy, but at least you'll have some variety. So as you see, legends, no matter where I put the mic, this is probably the least harsh position, but that Jensen is really spiky in the top end once the amp starts breaking up. If you if you essentially play clean or just on the verge of compression, it's probably a pretty fine speaker for you. But if you like making these tweeds and well, all the Fender amps pretty much get up and jump. Not a Chili Peppers reference there, but you know what I mean. You probably want to go with a different driver. I'm not a big fan of the Jensen stuff, particularly the Alnicos. Anyway, there you have it, champions. I'll see you on the bloody next one. So until then, take care of yourselves.